As the chair, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We have about 10:10 on our clock here. I think you guys we have 10:07. Is that sufficient?
Yep, that's fine.
Would you like me to go ahead and run some introductions from this room first, or did you want to start the introductions?
You can go ahead. Let's do introductions on your side.
Okay, perfect. So here's our mic. We'll do our best to capture everybody, but as your GUAC chair, I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting that we haven't seen each other for a while. It's September 25th, and this is virtual and in person, depending on where you're at. So once again, my name is Leslie Grazer, City of Prescott, and chair for the GUAC, and I'll turn it over this direction.
My name is Bob Recker. I'm a member, city at large, I guess.
You are
member.
Yes.
Member at large.
You're a long-standing
Yes.
Person of know-how related to water issues. Yes. Jim, did you want to?
Yeah, I'm Jim Holt. I guess I'm vice chair.
You are.
And
Yes, sir.
Been around these parts for a while. Thank you all for being here.
John Munderloh.
Also on the GUAC. So that is the GUAC in its entirety. Moving into we have other people in the room too. So Kay, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Kay Sitta with the City of Prescott.
And Tracy.
Tracy Lund, town of Prescott Valley.
That covers this meeting location. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Leslie. We'll go ahead and introduce the ADWR staff that we have in the room here. My name is Natalie Mast. I'm the Active Management Areas Director.
I'm Joy Revelo Vera. I'm the AMA Program Supervisor.
I'm Melissa Sykes. I'm the Water Management Assistance Program Coordinator.
I'm Tao Lee, and I'm Melissa's intern.
All right, and I think that's everyone we have on our side.
Okay, and for those that are joining us today, how would you prefer to move on that, Natalie? Would you like introductions for the public or those attending?
So if anyone on the webinar would like to introduce themselves, they can just put their name and affiliation in the chat box, and we can read that maybe after we do the meeting logistics with Joy.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, I would like to go over some webinar logistics. Members of the public, we ask that you please keep your phone muted during the meeting. It helps reduce audio feedback. If during the meeting you have a question, please feel free to type your question in the chat box, and they will be read and addressed at the end of each agenda item. If you would like to speak to the council, a call to the public would be the time to do so. Please indicate in the chat that you would like to speak, and we will unmute your phone. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on ADWR's website and YouTube page once the recording is generated. Finally, if you have any technical difficulties, please contact the number on the screen. Presenters, please ask for the next slide when you're presenting your agenda item. And that is all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. It looks like we have just a few introductions in the chat. Melissa, would you?
Sure. So in the chat, we have Tom Sands, a CUAG board member, Leslie Hoy from the Citizens Water Advocacy Group, that's also CUAG, and then Sandy Cordova as a CUAG member. And we also have Brian Ruiz, the Water Resource and Environmental Services Manager for the City of Prescott. That's all we have right now.
This is Mary Hoadley. I signed into the chat. I'm from the Upper Awa Fria Watershed Partnership.
Okay, great. Well, Leslie, do you want to go through the agenda? Would you like us to go through the agenda? How would you like to manage that? Oh, I think you're muted.
Why, yes, I am muted. Follow directions. Natalie, if your group would please go ahead with the leading the meeting, because I can see that you have slides that you'd like to share as well.
Sure. All right.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. What we'll do next, the number 3 item on the agenda is groundwater withdrawal fee recommendation and WMAP. So I'll have Melissa start us out in that category.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, council members and members of the public. I'll be going over the Water Management Assistance Program Fund balance and the status of the WMAP and DCP groundwater conservation grants. The current balance is $112,183. Of that, $9,570 is committed, leaving a balance of $102,613. We expect to collect about $14,000 next year. There's currently one project outside of the ADOT project being funded with WMAP funds. The conservation webpage redesign project was approved for $10,000, and they will be presenting the completion of their project today. Next, I will give an update on the groundwater conservation grants. All three projects are ongoing, but one recently completed the project. We expect them to present at the next GUAC meeting to present their accomplishments, their project accomplishments. But before we move on to the presentation, Natalie Mass will start the withdrawal fee discussions. But are there any questions regarding the WMAP funds or the groundwater conservation projects before we move on to that discussion?
Council, any questions related to these funds? I think they're generally familiar to this group. This group has sat, I think, and approved this many times. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. We have no questions over here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the next item here is to discuss and recommend to the ADWR Director groundwater withdrawal fee rates for reporting year 2024. So, Madam Chair, members of the Council, we are here today to request that you all make a recommendation on what the withdrawal fees should be for next year. You can see on the screen some of the previous year withdrawal fee rates and also what the statutory framework is here for each given line item. Maximum of $2 on the WMAP line item and between 50 cents and $1 on the administration and enforcement line item. So members of the council, if you would like to discuss those rates, recommended rates, ADWR staff can be here to answer any questions that may arise.
Thank you, Natalie. Gentlemen, how would you like to proceed with this? We probably need to look at the WMAP first and see what your thoughts are on that, and then the administration and enforcement. We've had different looks to this over the years, but it's been fairly constant.
Well, would there be any reason to increase it over last 2023's number?
Melissa, for WMAP?
Not on the WMAP, and your fee or your fund is pretty stable at this point. We don't have any projects withdrawing funding. The one project that we did have is completed at this point.
Did that answer my question?
So, and you need to increase it. So what I heard, I believe was Melissa say that there isn't anything on the horizon, like you have a balance at this point, remaining balance. So there's funds there, but if this area would like to do more, have a bigger pool to work with, then you would want to increase this. Mr. Munderloh.
Yeah, my thought is that until there's more projects kind of in the queue, or coming forward that we know about that need to be funded, that might be a time. I'm also concerned that an unelected group essentially would be directing an increase in taxes. So I'm generally against that, either coming from this group. Obviously, it's a recommendation to the ADWR Director, but again, another unelected person. So that's my philosophical comment on increasing taxes outside of an elected body.
Thank you. Mr. Holt, any thoughts on this?
Well, recognizing John's concern and the fact that we don't have any additional projects coming forward right now, I'd recommend that we keep it where it is, and that my recommendation would be 2024 would be $1.25 for the water management program and 75 cents for administration and enforcement. for a total of $2 per acre foot withdrawal fee.
Anybody want?
Well, having heard no reason why we need to increase it, I would second that suggestion.
Okay, so yours was a motion,
I'll second the motion.
second motion. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Okay. All in, well, make sure you heard the recommendation, correct, ADWR?
Yes, the motion I heard was to carry forward those same funding levels for both line items.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're bouncing back and forth between the two rooms properly. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a unanimous of the GUAC.
All right. Great. Well, thank you very much. We will go ahead and move on to the next line item. Next line item here is number 4, WMAP completed project presentation. Melissa, would you like to introduce that?
Sure. So the City of Prescott Conservation Webpage Redesign Project recently completed their contract. So Kay Sidow will be presenting on behalf of the City of Prescott.
I don't want to show.
Have to move that microphone. Speak in here.
Move this so you can.
What do I do to make it just show the single
I
slide?
need to do a share screen. Let me back up and minimize it.
So, go ahead.
Hi, Kay. So we're going to be advancing the slides for you, so you can just let us know when you need us to go forward. We
Okay.
have your slide deck, so it's already in our slides here.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. So I'm going to stand back a little bit so that I'm not like staring up at the screen. So, yeah, first slide, Groundwater Users Advisory Council, the Water Management Assistance Program, and today's date. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide, please.
This is cool.
We were assigned 4 project tasks. Hire a professional web page designer. Then we were to meet in task 2, weekly or monthly communication with the designer, finalize the design, and then the last task was outreach. Next slide, please. In March 9, 2022, Director Prescott actually we got the letter that said we had a $10,000 grant with the city match for the City of Prescott Conservation Webpage redesign in the Prescott Active Management Area. Next slide, please. So the tasks, task 1, hire a professional web page designer. There was a deliverable of a design plan, and that was $2,500. That was our first task, was completed by Sadie Sardi Design Company, and she was hired in April of 2022. Task 2, to stay in weekly or monthly communication with the designer. Deliverable was a design progress report, which we sent. $2,500 again for task 2, and the web page content, I provided it, but Sadie Sardi Design rearranged the entire website to a very pleasing effect, and I love how it came out. And then the next slide, please. Task 3, actually, I thought I had changed it to task 3 and 4, but now I guess they're at the bottom. So web page redesign, we've got conservation, outdoor and indoor tools. This drought, there's an education and activities page, blog, a calendar of events, and rebates and incentives. Next slide, please. So our home page, we scroll down and there are links to all the other web pages, but I was kind of hoping at this point that perhaps we could download the actual website. Is that something that could be done? Otherwise, I could continue through with the slides, but I thought it would be more fun if I could go through the website live. And I thought that Melissa Sykes said she could load that up for me. But if that's not the case, that's...
Sure, we'll go ahead and open that up. Let me get the link and we'll pull it up here.
And then I guess I need to minimize, did I minimize my PowerPoint from here?
No, they're controlling everything.
Okay.
Sorry, give us just one moment while we pull up in that web page.
It's fine. It's also on the last slide if you're forgetting what it was called or.
Go back to what?
There we go. Go ahead.
Okay, so the home page, you depend on water, water depends on you. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see, you know, if you take that, scroll down and you can see that we have great messaging about all of the keeping water for future generations, and then how to save water in the yard. And that outdoor conservation takes you to a link that gives you tips on how to save water. Then there's water savings at home and indoor conservation, lots of tips there. And then for fun activities, we have an activities and education section too that you can go to. And if you want to scroll down a little bit more, you can see we have a lot of different sites here on community conservation efforts, how to use reclaimed water, conservation conversations, teach children the importance of using water efficiently. Lots of good information on those. And then down a little bit more. So I do realize I'm under a certain amount of time here. So upgrade to a water smart lifestyle. This is our rebates and incentive page, and it'll take you directly to the rebates incentive tab at the top of the screen. And down a little bit more. Oh, August is Water Quality Month. That's a little outdated, but there is a calendar of events. And so if you scroll on down a little bit more, and then there are also blogs. So these are water conservation blogs. I've done quite a few of these. Frankly, I'm starting to run out of ideas for blogs. I do one a month. And if anyone out there wants to give me some ideas on some future blogs, I'd love to have you share those with me. But you could scroll on down and you'll see that there are quite a few of them. Oh, well, that's not all. Now you can see all the blog posts. And then these are our community partners. If you scroll on down, you can see our community partners. So we've got Chino Valley, Yavapai County, Prescott Valley, and then Water Use It Wisely, the Water Awareness Month, DWR's on there, of course, and Upper Verde River Watershed. Well, that's outdated, but go on down just a little bit further. And then there's the cooperative extension, and then these are all additional links at the bottom that would take you directly to the other page. So if you go on up to the top, and we can get back to so then if you go to outdoor, so there's water conservation and water smart and outreach, and those are all full of great tips on how to save money on your landscaping and not to overwater and not to water on your sidewalks, and making sure that your none of your emitters are going to be shooting off somewhere where they shouldn't, or that you have a broken emitter. So it's all good information to go out there and check. Then the indoor, And if you scroll down on this one, you'll see some tips how to save water in the kitchen. Scroll on down, please. So lots of good tips here. When washing dishes by hand, you can fill one sink halfway with water, the other with clean rinse water. Only run a full dishwasher. You can store your water in the fridge. Start collecting food scraps instead of putting them down your garbage disposal. Scroll on down, please. And then there's more information for how to save water in the bathroom, turning off the tap, making simple repairs. And then there are some additional tips. If you scroll on down, they'll take you to some more tips on how to save water in the bathroom. Yeah, and there's some really good information there about making sure your flapper is correctly in place and ways to make sure that your flush, if you hear a gurgling sound, you want to replace your flush valve. And of course, you don't ever want to use the toilet as a wastebasket. Scroll on up, please. Oh, in the shower and the bath too, some good tips there. Then drought preparation. So we've got two sites here. One will take you right to the ADWR website on drought, and you can view the statistics there if you click on that. And then we also have the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA site, and the National Integrated Drought Information System, where you can also look at you can view detailed information on both of those sites. And let's scroll on up. Education activities. Scroll down, please. Keep scrolling. So we have here resources for kids, teachers, and adults. So we've got Water Use It Wisely for the youth, and ADEQ has features just for kids. Teachers or Salt River Project information, AMWA, adults, US EPA, US Department of Energy. And if you scroll on down, you'll see there are even more. There's the National Weather Service. Then there's a water conservation coloring book. Central Arizona Project has information for teachers for grades 6 through 8 and 9 through 12. Well, of course, the Citizens Water Advocacy Group is on there. We can't forget them. And then Test Your Water Sense. So there's some good information there on taking pledges if you want to pledge to be a good water conservation student or well, it's kind of for the teachers, I guess. And then the Highland Center for Natural History. I'm actually going to be there this Saturday. I'm going to be doing a scavenger hunt for Discovery Days on this Saturday. So be going there soon. And then if we can scroll back up. Rebates and incentives. So I'm really proud of this. If you click on this and scroll down, it has our most recent dollars amount for the various options that we have to save water. So rainwater cisterns, we've got that spelled out. Rain gardens, you can get $3 per square foot. Turf removal, we just raised this. If you scroll down, please. We just raised this from 50 cents to $1 a square foot last November. Water, it has an EPA water sense labeled smart irrigation timer, but you can get $75 for that. And our toilets, if you get a 1 gallon per single flush toilet, it's $150. A 1.28 gallon dual flush toilet, $125. And a 1.28 single flush toilet for $100. And if you're on the septic system, you get an extra $50. The same thing applies for the washing machines, which was right up above the toilet replacement one where it's $200. Commercial urinals, we don't see much of that, but we do get a lot of people have been emailing in about the hot water recirculation system for $150. And I guess we could scroll up just to try to save time. I know we were supposed to allot like 10 or 15 minutes for this. Then the blogs, you go to the blogs. So you can see there are quite a few of them. I've done many of these. And like I said, I'm running out of ideas, but if you keep scrolling down, you'll see that each one has a different type of educational component or oh, now you scrolled up, but yeah, so if you scroll on down, you'll see I've done quite a few blogs starting last November. So there's one on Salt River Project, pesticide alternatives. Oh, there you can see water conservation, education and pollution. And there are more, but if you want to keep scrolling, or we can go back up to the top.
Keep scrolling.
All right. Energy saving tips, Water Awareness Month. And then the events calendar, excuse me, the events calendar, if you click on that. So we do have August as Water Quality Month, but there was supposed to be something there for September too, and now I'm not sure where that ended up. I thought I had September covered also with a drop by drop. Anyway, I'm not sure where that is. I forget where that landed, but we do have August. We have an August drop by drop and a September drop by drop. So I'm not sure where those are, unless you scroll down a little bit more, see if it's somewhere further down. No. Well, I forget where those are. I'll have to find out where those were put. But anyway, that's what we've got so far. And then if we could, I'd like to just go back to my slides. And I'd like to go back to slide 18. If you can bring those up. Is the PowerPoint? Do I need to do it myself?
No, give us just one moment here. I think our slides are numbered a little bit differently than yours. Is that the right slide?
No, I moved mine around a little bit. No, let's see. I think slide 18, 19, and 20. It's my thank you to all of you. So can we?
Give me one second.
Oh, okay. Go up two, please. So the last task, well, we skipped task 3 and task 4, which I thought I had reordered my slides, but evidently I didn't save it or something. But the last task 4 was outreach. And what I really wanted to point out here was that we have Google Analytics, and now I can't see it very well myself, but as of September 1st, I believe we had 2.2 thousand views on our, or 2,200 views on our website. And you can look at the different results that we had. I know I did talk about this before, which ones were direct, which ones were referrals. So a direct means they went right to the website. A referral, they may have gone through another website. An organic search would have been from Google, for example, and organic social would have been someone from a different website a social website like, can't think of the names of them right now, but anyway, they would get to there from a different website, a social one. So can't remember the name right now. But so that's that slide, and I'm sure that you've had some time to study it. And if the rest of you haven't, I'll be happy to share it with you. And then if we go down one more slide. Okay. Web page. Yeah, Facebook and Instagram. That's what I was trying to think of. And then go on down one more, please. So yeah, this is my thank you to all of you here at ADWR, part of the Water Management Assistance Program. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Al, and anyone else at ADWR who helped us. We are really, really grateful that we got this grant. And just really thank you for allowing us to do this and for doing this presentation today. Any questions?
Hi, Kay. We have a question in the chat from Tom Sands.
Okay.
He says, is the city still providing rebates for smart irrigation controllers?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that hasn't changed. We've been doing that for years and we'll continue to do that. And if you want me to send you an application, Tom, I will.
Natalie, let me check the council for any questions they might have regarding this project. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Thanks.
Good.
Any questions?
Is this project complete?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the website launched on March 27th, I believe.
It seems to flow in a logical way, so I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm very impressed with how she took the information and put it in a really logical sequence.
Yep.
Yeah, she did a good job, Sadie Sardi did, and the rest of her design team.
I have a question. Which part of the project did you like the most? The gathering of, what part did you like the most, doing a website?
Oh, well, I did provide most of the content. Actually, I kind of provided all the content. So, but then they would take it and massage it and do what they, and change it around different ways. So, yeah, it was fun for me to send the content over, and then they would fix it around a little bit, change some things. And yeah, I just think the website came out very nicely. I'm very pleased with it.
A question about it, rebates, are those available for county residents who are on the Prescott water system?
Yes, they are. Yeah, Prescott.
It's a question from one of my neighbors.
If they're on Prescott water, then yes, they're entitled to rebate.
Okay, thank you.
The last question is the going cost for website builds $10,000? Or is there also a component of maintenance that's offered as part of this?
Oh,
Who pays the ongoing?
actually, there was a little bit of money left over, and Melissa took that. So it was just a few $100s, but it will go back into the kitty for anyone else who wants to use it. And after that, we did have a small $180 bill, just to sort of forget what it was, but it was something that was put on afterwards. So yeah, so there is a little bit of money left, and we still are able to use some money from our budget, our own budget account, to help pay for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions in the room? I did check with Tracy. Tracy's good. Okay, we're good in this room.
There are a couple more comments in the chat, so I'll go read those off. Leslie Hoy says, thank you, Kay and ADWR. CWAG is very happy with your new site. We also have another question from Nicholas Ballack. Will there/are there talks for a water rebate program for Prescott Valley water users?
Well, this isn't the first time I've been asked this question, and
I can speak to that.
okay.
If you'd like. Yes, we are talking about it. We have a number of other conservation things that we're discussing at the moment that are kind of taking all the air out of the room. But that is on the short list of topics to discuss. So yes, you're looking at it.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank
Very
you.
nice presentation.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kay. And Madam Chair, members of the council, the next item on the agenda is number 5, AMA Director Report. So I'll go ahead and jump into that if that works for you all.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. So I have 3 topics that I'm going to cover today. Staffing update, and then I'll talk a little bit about where we're at with our water supply and demand analysis, and also some of the activities of the Governor's Water Policy Council. So you all will notice that your other AMA director, who would normally run these meetings, is not here today. Kyle has left the agency. We miss him dearly, but we definitely are really happy for him on his next endeavor. So you'll be seeing a little bit more of me instead of Kyle. We are going back to a posture of having 1 AMA director for the now 6 active management areas. So you'll be talking with me a little bit more, and also we'll be hearing from some additional other staff. Kennedy Shepard, our GUAC coordinator, has moved into a different position within the agency. She's actually now on our supply and demand team that I'll be talking about shortly, so we're really happy for her for that. But we're currently working on backfilling her position. So by the time we meet again, fingers crossed that we'll have a new GUAC coordinator for you all to meet. Michelle C. Benali, who has been with the AMAs for about 2 years now, she has taken on some additional responsibilities. In addition to the conveyances team, Michelle C. is now responsible for ADWR's activities related to the establishment of the Douglas AMA and the Wallapai Valley INA. Joy Arevalo-Vera, who's here, is brand new. We're about a month and a half in, something like that. She is our new program supervisor, so she's responsible for conveyances and WMAP and GUACs, and she reports to Michelle C. We also have another new supervisor on the AMA team. His name is Ryan Melson. I'm really looking forward to having him meet you all at a future meeting. He is responsible for our conservation programs. So he's our conservation program supervisor, responsible for the agricultural, municipal, and industrial conservation program teams. On the supply and demand team side, we have another new supervisor that has started there. His name is Colin Wogenstall, and he's responsible for kind of the project management and staff supervision on that supply and demand team. I'll talk about that team a little bit more here shortly, but I'm sure you guys will be hearing from him in the near future. The last item I wanted to mention here is that our statewide planning manager, John Riggins, has taken another position at WIFA. So you may still be hearing from him, just in a different capacity at a different agency. We definitely miss him here at the department, but we're really happy for him in this new adventure. And we are currently working on backfilling that statewide planning manager position as well. I know that was a lot. I'll pause here for any questions from the council before I move on to my next 2 topics.
Questions, council? A lot of new people to meet.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, no questions over here. Thank you.
Great. All right, next 2 items. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about supply and demand. So last year, ADWR, we had a new statute so we have a new requirement to conduct water supply and demand assessments of each of the 51 groundwater basins around the state with each basin being analyzed at least once every 5 years. So we're required to issue at least 6 reports each year. And this December 1st, our deadline is December 1st of each year. This December 1st is our first deadline. We're really excited about that coming up. The basins that we are analyzing for this calendar year in kind of west central Arizona are Tiger Wash, McMullen, Butler, and the Harquahala INA. And then in southeastern Arizona, we have San Bernardino, Wilcox, and the Douglas AMA. So those reports will be coming out in December. We're really looking forward to getting those out into the world. The team has been working really hard on creating these analyses, kind of looking at things maybe in a different way than has been done before. And I think it'll be really interesting to provide updates on that in the future. We are currently in the process of selecting our basins for next year's analysis, and hopefully I'll be able to update you all on that soon as well. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about today is the Governor's Water Policy Council. Governor Hobbs did create a Water Policy Council, and they've been meeting regularly for the last several months. Their last meeting was on September 6th. That council has created 2 committees, an Assured Water Supply Committee and also a Rural Groundwater Committee. The goal of that council and those committees is considering updates kind of in those 2 categories right now, so assured water supply and rural groundwater, with an expectation and a goal of having proposals related to those 2 topics to the governor's office by December. So those 2 committees are working very quickly. We have an assured water supply meeting later this week. There's a lot going on. There is a lot of information on our website about those meetings, so I would encourage you all to follow along with that process. And with that, that's all I have. I'd gladly take any questions from the council if there are any.
I have a quick question. On the Governor's Council,
Sure.
Is there anybody, this is Bob Recker, is there anybody from our AMA on that council?
I'm not having anyone come to mind that's specifically from the Prescott AMA. However, Ron Doba from NAMWA is on the council. So there is some representation from Northern Arizona.
Is he the only one from Northern Arizona?
The other one that comes to mind is Abe Springer, who's with NAU. There may be others. There is a full list of council members on the ADWR website. There's about 40 members, so I wouldn't want to guarantee that I'm not missing someone from Northern Arizona.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the council related to the governor's council, the 2 efforts underway? And then related to the supply and demand studies, thoughts or questions related to those?
I have a general question.
Sure.
Can you tell me what year ADWR said that our AMA was in mining water status?
Oh, I feel like I knew that date off the top of my head at some point, and I don't have it in front of me.
Yes.
I believe it was in the mid-90s. We could pull that date and that report for you if you would like.
Okay. Where's the 6th AMA? I'm not. We had 5. Where's the 6th one?
The 6th AMA is the Douglas AMA. So Douglas used to be an INA. Last December, the Douglas AMA was established by local election. The boundaries of it changed just slightly because subsequent AMAs are required by statute to be based on basin boundaries. and the Douglas IMA boundaries it was kind of based on a grid system, on the cadastral system. So the boundaries did expand just slightly as compared to the Douglas IMA, but the Douglas AMA was established by local initiation and election at the end of last year. So that's brand new. We're going through a lot of work right now to establish a GUAC and a management goal and management plans and that type of thing. We'll actually be having a meeting related to the management plan down there later this week.
Okay, thank you. One more quick question. Is the overall goal for all the AMAs still to achieve safe yield?
So the statutes laid out management goals for 3 AMAs out of the initial 5 to achieve safe yield by 2025. So that is still the goal for Prescott, Phoenix, and Tucson. Santa Cruz's goal is a little bit different, where it's maintaining safe yield and avoiding localized water level declines. And then Pinal's goal is obviously different as well. For Douglas, the statutes lay out a little bit of a process for us to adopt a goal. So we're currently working through that process to finalize a management goal for Douglas. So maybe that's kind of a long way of saying, yes, safe yield by 2025 is the goal for the Prescott AMA. It's the goal for Prescott, Phoenix, and Tucson, but the other AMAs have a little bit more nuance to them.
Okay, I'm checking our council here, making sure there aren't any other questions that might come up. I had one related to the supply and demand work that's being done. I was curious what references ADWR has been using. I don't know if there's something available online that you can point to. It seems that having been formerly in statewide water planning in a long time ago and a generation far away, it seems, a lot of work had been done. So how did you build on previous work, or do you have any examples, or is it all a new thought process?
It's a little bit of both, and thank you, Madam Chair. It's a really good question. So this process is a little bit different than previous processes in the sense of things like the Water Atlas and the WRDC and those types of things have obviously done water supply and demand analyses in the past. But all of those were kind of one-off analysis. A group would come together, they would create an analysis, they would put together their report, and they would publish their report, and then it might sit on the shelf for a decade. This is kind of an interesting new thing because we have this cycle. So there's an automatic timeline built in where we're going to be reevaluating each of these basins at least once every 5 years. So we certainly looked to previous analyses that are done, to data that's available, but we were also, with this first year, really trying to build a structure, lay out kind of a little bit of a skeleton here, if you will, for how do we want to approach these analyses? Are there methods that we can develop for these analyses that we can apply more broadly as we work through the basins? And can we create this structure that will not only serve us across these basins as we're working through them for the first time, but can we create a structure that will enable us to build on that structure and kind of check our own work over time? So there's certainly a lot of looking toward what was done in the past, seeing what types of data and tools are available to us, but in a lot of ways, we're really looking at things differently in this analysis. So we're really excited about the work that has been done, about some of the methods and tools that are being developed. And I'll certainly look forward to sharing more information about all of that, maybe at a future council meeting.
Thank you. And this is under executive order. So what's the time frame of this?
So this was not under an executive order. So the Governor's Water Policy Council was under an executive order, but the supply and demand analyses are actually in statute. So under the statutes related to responsibilities of the ADWR director, this was added. So we are required to analyze all 51 groundwater basins in the state at least once every 5 years, with a minimum of 6 reports each year. So all of the groundwater basins will have an update to this data at least once every 5 years, which is a kind of different paradigm and is something that's really exciting.
May I ask the question?
Yes.
When was the last time you analyzed Prescott's groundwater base?
That's a great question. So we do have a groundwater model for Prescott that was published. It was a couple years ago now. I'm not remembering the exact date. But the models kind of look at things a little bit differently than a water supply and demand assessment might. The last time a water supply and demand assessment was done for Prescott, kind of looking at those projected supplies, projected demands, and not really just looking at things from kind of that physical hydrologic level. The last time that type of assessment was done for the Prescott AMA would have been around 2010 with the AMA assessments that were done in preparation for the 4th management plan. So it's been a while.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
The question about declaration of groundwater mining. I'm not certain, but I thought Leslie indicated she knows that answer. I think it was 1998.
It was 99.
99?
Yeah.
It was late 98 and the document was signed, dated January of 1999. So it was late 98, 99. That would be a great document. I don't know how you work with keeping things available on the website for the Prescott Active Management Area, but I know I've done a search and it's not available there. You can find it other places on the web. But that's a pretty critical document for this area.
I know I've seen it. Thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure that that's available online. I know I've seen it somewhere, but it might have been in some of our internal documents, but that's a really good point.
That was signed by Director McGuire, Rita McGuire, right? Okay, let's see if there's any other lingering items on the director's report.
But just, real quick, is there ever any discussion about setting aside or allocating funds to help AMAs who are in groundwater mining circumstances to achieve safe yield?
That's a really good question, and I appreciate the question. I think it would be a matter of maybe identifying like what types of tools or projects might contribute to that type of thing, and depending on what a specific project was or a specific strategy was, there might be different funds available for a given thing. So obviously WIFA has some funds available. There might be some small amount available through the WMAP. ADWR is actually currently working on some additional grant funding that we're working toward defining the details on what types of things would be eligible for that funding. It's not really a good answer maybe, but there are different funding pools available. I think it would just be a matter of having an understanding of how folks in the AMAs or entities in the AMAs might want to approach those strategies.
Are you folks aware of a 2004 agreement contract between the city of Prescott and town of Prescott Valley to help achieve safe yield in our communities? It was recorded, it was documented in the year December of 2004.
seen that.
Maybe we
I'll have
could have
to see if I can find that.
Leslie send it to you, because we've pretty much mapped out what we need to do to help achieve safe yield. And
Okay.
so we have some groundwork laid already. We've had it laid for about 3 decades now.
Okay. Yeah, Leslie, maybe I'll reach out to you if I don't have a copy of that. I don't think I've seen that.
Happy to share. Happy to share. And Mr. Recker, I know probably most don't know the depth of his work and experience in water resources. So when we did have across the countywide water advisory council, where we would meet on various sides of the mountain to try to resolve, how water would be handled. Everybody had a different perspective and different needs, of course, but we all had to figure out how to work together because we had downstream water right holders. So Mr. Recker comes with a wealth of knowledge and experience related to much time with the Water Advisory Council that was disbanded. And then he also is a former city councilman. So he's also worked through some of the very arduous, had to have a lot of strength and focus related to Big Chino water supplies, which are important, of course, for this region as a supply type that has been lagging while we have Metro Phoenix already well involved in CAP supplies as well as Tucson AMAs. So we hope that we'll see some focus, I think, is some of what Mr. Recker's comments might be related to. I don't want to speak for you, but if this area was to be one of the supply and demand areas, is there any kind of information you can give us? It sounds like the Douglas area is underway, but they just started as moving from an INA to an AMA. What would it potentially look like for, an original AMA to be reviewed? Or is that too soon to ask related to supply and demand studies?
It's a really good question, and I can't necessarily say when the Prescott AMA will be on the slate for those supply and demand analyses, but just we will have to do that sometime in the next 4 years here, so it will be near-ish future. In terms of the differences between some of these more rural basins and an AMA, obviously we have a longer history of data and some of these more active and proactive water management strategies in active management areas. So I can certainly imagine the local involvement looking a little bit different. I can certainly imagine the additional context that will need to be considered for an active management area just to be a little bit more complex and nuanced. There's a lot. I know there's a lot of history in the Prescott AMA, and I appreciate Mr. Recker's perspective on that. It's always great to learn about some of these new things that I haven't happened to come across at this point. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit hard to say until we really dig into the details of the basin and how it might differ from other basins, and really how it's going to differ from other active management areas.
Thank you. Oh,
More
yes, sir.
comment.
Yeah.
Based on the report that you gave us regarding the staffing changes at the department related to water management, if there was interest on part of your staff to have some sort of a field trip up to Prescott, I'm certain that the GUAC would participate and try to be gracious hosts. So if you all would like to consider that, I think it might not be a bad idea, particularly with respect to your new staff members.
Excellent idea.
Yes, I really appreciate the offer. Thank you for that. We'll definitely be considering what types of field trips might be appropriate, how we can get staff out into the field to learn about these different areas and some of the history there. Definitely, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take the time to, and I think maybe time has passed and people haven't realized, you have I think a fairly strong GUAC up here in the Prescott AMA. And as many of you may or may not know, Jim was a former Prescott AMA director when there were actual sites, offices. He also served for the city and the Big Chino Water Ranch project when they were in the engineering and development period. So I'd like to share that. And also Mr. Munderloh, who's sitting at the table as well. Long history. I think we could just say he was born and raised here and then go from there. But his last detail of duty was with the Prescott Valley, the town, and their water resource manager. So he's seen the challenges, and I know that there's ongoing challenges to support water supplies for a rural community, even though we're an AMA. We definitely have a rural lean, and we hope to have the support of the department up in this area as well to the challenges that we still have or haven't been able to meet regarding additional water supplies that are available in other areas, other AMAs. So with that, I'm looking around. Is there any other last items on agenda item number 5, the AMA director report? Okay, I'm seeing none here.
All right, well, thank you. The next agenda item is number 6, call to the council.
Hey, council. Anything? Mr. Munderloh.
Question for ADWR on the groundwater conservation grant project. This GUAC has asked several times for some sort of update on the SR 89 stormwater recharge pilot project being conducted by ADOT, I believe. It's been several years since that grant was approved by this body, and there's been, I mean, it's been complete silence. So we're pretty curious about that. They took quite a huge chunk of our WMAP funds, and we'd really kind of like to know what's going on, especially since it's a state agency.
Yeah, so for the SR 89 stormwater recharge pilot project, that project is still on its way. We are currently awaiting the 3rd semi-annual monitoring report for that project. I'm working with Eileen Dunn and Gregory Riston over at ADOT on that project.
Is there a possibility of an update at a future GUAC meeting?
Yes, would you like to hear directly from Eileen Dunn at a meeting?
Sure. Whatever works best, but
okay.
Yeah, certainly would be curious about what's going on there.
Yeah, we'll definitely arrange that. Thank you.
That might be the case for all the grants. That was a twofold. There was monies coming from 2 different feeds on some of these, if I recall correctly.
Yes, for
so the next. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. For the ADOT project, that project does take was allotted $67,444 of WMAP funding, and the remaining fund of $7,556 was from the DCP conservation grant.
Any other calls? Okay. I had one follow-up too. I think, to just follow on with John's comment. All 3 of them that still remain, they're working through the process. It would be great to have an update on how things are going. And I'm not sure, seems like the GUAC gets together twice a year is how you usually schedule. So do we have a forward date the next time you would be able to convene this group?
We don't have an estimated date at this time, but we'd be more than happy to kind of note those items for the next agenda and make sure that we can coordinate with whoever might do those presentations to have them on the agenda for the next meeting.
And then my other item that I wanted to bring up, at our last GUAC, we were concerned that we had a vacancy. So we'd like some support from the department on how we might proceed now that we have a new governor seated. And we understand there's a process for boards and commissions at the state level. We also are aware that we have a member whose term is coming up to expire. And that would put us down 2 people potentially starting in January. What's your thought processes or for making sure we remain a fully seated GUAC?
Sure. And very good question. I was actually just having a conversation about all of this morning, so it's good timing. So a couple things there. If a member's term expires, they can continue serving until they're either renewed or until someone else is seated in their place. So just because your term expires doesn't mean you can't continue coming to the meetings while that process kind of works its way out. The other thing I would say there is an application process through boards and commissions. So on boards and commissions website, there is an application available. Within that application, there's a drop down with a long list of boards and commissions, and one of those options on the drop down, it would be Prescott AMA Groundwater Users Advisory Council. So if you know of folks who are interested in serving, or for our member whose term is coming close to expiring, an application can be submitted through there, and boards and commissions then work with the governor's office to either reappoint someone or to appoint a new member. ADWR does work closely with the governor's office on those types of things. Like I said, I was just having a conversation about that this morning, but ultimately those decisions are up to the discretion of the governor's office.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, we would just like to remain as whole as possible and be ready to work through different items. It's not getting any easier in water. I think it's always been an uphill battle through the years, of course. What I'm noticing on these grants that are still in play, it looks like most of them are supposed to be ending. A year out. So Town of Prescott Valley is looking at 2023 when their contract ends, and the rainwater harvesting and the stormwater one, December of 24. Is there, can we offer a tentative date for like late January to have a GUAC to hear about these projects?
Sure, we can certainly look into that.
I do have an update on the Town of Prescott Valley Water Smart Customer Portal. That project recently did come to completion, so they've completed their contract. I was going to request that they present at our next GUAC meeting. The other 2 are still ongoing, though.
Okay. Thank you. We really appreciate this time to kick these things around and see where things stand. Any other items from council? Okay, we have nothing else from the council at this time.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. The next line item on our agenda today is a call to the public.
Public here? Yes. We see it here. More than our public, she's the local Town of Prescott Valley Water Resource Project Manager.
I would like to request from ADWR that application website for applying for the GUAC would be within the minutes so that I could find that without spelunking wherever it is that I need to spelunk to on the website. So that I would appreciate that.
Thank you. I don't think we have anything else from this room.
Oops, sorry, I was muted. So the way we handle minutes for the GUAC meetings is actually through the recording of the meeting itself. But I would be happy to make sure we can send over that link directly to you.
Okay, otherwise I can also email you directly as well if you don't mind.
That works.
We do have some comments in the chat. Our first one is from Leslie Hoy. Is the 2004 agreement Mr. Recker referred to the agreement to buy the BCWR?
The IGA between Prescott and Prescott.
It's the 2004 agreement referred to the agreement to buy. No, the water ranch was purchased in December of 2004. And the agreement between the two communities was recorded shortly thereafter.
So you're referring
It's a
to
contract. It's a
IGA.
IGA.
Intergovernmental.
it's an IGA between two governmental entities. And if you look in, I can't remember what section it's in, but it's a 200-year long IGA agreement.
And the city does have that on our website
Okay.
too, under Big Chino.
Yep.
That helps if people are curious.
Thank you. We have another comment from Mary Hoadley. The Upper Agua Fria Watershed Partnership is interested in potential development impacts in the Prescott AMA, especially in Prescott Valley on groundwater and surface water in Agua Fria from South DH boundary to Lake Pleasant.
Is that a
question?
Do we know?
Dewey Humboldt.
Oh.
Spelman.
I guess I can respond just briefly to that. When we do look at the Prescott AMA for the supply and demand assessments, that's certainly something we can consider. And in addition to that, development impacts are certainly contemplated as a part of our assured water supply models.
Okay, thank you.
There are no other comments in the chat at this time.
So if there's, I think we managed to take care of all the items for today. Natalie, would you like me to seek a adjournment motion? Or is there?
I think that's where we're at. I'm not seeing any other items on our agenda and no other comments in the chat. So I think that's, if the council is ready to adjourn, we can adjourn.
I'll move.
Okay, you would like to second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay.
So adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody over at DWR and those online
Thank
for
you.
joining us today and
Yeah.
talking through these items. And thanks, Kay, for her presentation. And
Thank
we wish everybody a good day.
Make plans for a tour. Come on in.
Yeah.
We're Arizona's Christmas City. Make it do during Christmas time. You love it.
Do your shopping.
Yeah. Yeah, shop local.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Bye.